Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
Hey, welcome once again, peeps, to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. Got a great show for you today. We got Frankie Twiggy Reed. Is that correct?
That's it.
I just saw your nickname. I didn't notice your nickname till you wrote it down. Twiggy.
Yeah, I've had that for about 30 years now.
Where did Twiggy come from? The nickname.
6'5", tall, skinny.
Really?
Yeah. So when I got out of service, man, I started playing like softball many years down in Nashville, Tennessee. After I got out of service in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I hooked up with these guys, and they're like, "Man, you're like tall and skinny like a twig." And this one guy said, "That's it. We're gonna start calling you Twiggy." So it's been like 93. I've had that nickname, so it just stuck. So pretty cool.
Nice. Well, as long as you like it.
Yeah.
So Frank Reed.
That's right.
A.K.A. Twiggy. Thanks for coming to the show, man. How you been doing?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. Thanks. Appreciate you having me on your show. It's pretty cool.
Now, man, it's an honor to have you. We were just talking before the recording, and just as Dan Perry had told me, suggested to bring you on the podcast, said you've lived an interesting life and you have a lot of kayak fishing knowledge. So it seems like a perfect marriage to have you on my podcast. So again, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah,
so,
thanks.
Frank, tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you and how you got into kayak fishing.
Yeah, man. So Frank Reed, hailing from Cumberland, Maryland, born and raised for 17 years up there, and decided to go into service in 1988. Did 4 years, got out of the service in 92, took a little trip back home to Maryland in 96, and was living up there and decided, they didn't have any jobs for people who was taught how to jump out of an airplane and kill people. So, there wasn't nobody looking for mercenaries, back in them 90s. So it was just like, I had to find a job, and I got into this thing of cabling buildings, and there was a guy that was sitting behind a computer one day, and I was just like, that's the line I just put in there. I'm like, and you're on my network now. And he goes, yeah. And I was just like, well, how do you do that? This guy started showing me how to do, stuff on the computer, Armando. And I was just like, that's the life that I wanted, and it was just like, I got in that guy's hip pocket, and he just started teaching me stuff, and next thing you know, here I am 23 years later. I've been in IT since. So, it's been pretty cool.
So basically your job training in your armed forces didn't translate a whole lot to your current job. Is that what you're saying?
Not
at
at all.
Assumption.
Not at all. Yeah, that's definitely a safe assumption. Yeah. Yes.
I know we were talking on the pre-recording, and you served in the first Desert Storm War, right?
Did.
Is that the name?
Yeah.
This feels so long ago. Desert Storm, right?
I know. It was. So, at first it was called Desert Shield.
Yeah.
For the longest while we were there, and next thing you know, when the air war started, they were like, okay, now it's called Desert Storm, So, I did about a year over there, out on the Tigris River, sat out there, did some things, and then sure enough, we're getting ready to set up for the ground war. We had probably, in the neighborhood of around 20 Apache helicopters to our right. And there was about 50 Black Hawk where we were all staged to be on that morning. And we were going to fly into Basra and take business in our hands. And George Bush said, you know what? The ground war the air war did perfect. So you know what, guys? We're ceasing. Nobody's going anywhere. So, yeah, man, we just sat out in the desert for a little while until it was time to come back home, pretty much.
How was the bass fishing? Nah, I'm just joking.
Right. I'm sure it was pretty good. If you could have fished the Tigris River in Euphrates, yeah, I'm sure it would have been amazing.
How different is it being living there from what we used to see on CNN and Fox
Well,
News and all that?
I, I mean, you go, you land in King Fahd International Airport, and there is gold everywhere there. I mean, it's just like loaves of bread. It's everywhere there, and it's just like what we take gold for granted here. It's just like that's nothing to them there, So we landed on a tarmac there, and it was 135 degrees, but
135. Good lord.
oh yeah, yeah, but it felt like maybe like 90 because there's no humidity.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Um, so I mean, but here, we're in the middle of town, but it's when we started flying north, and getting away from everything. Man, you get out of a helicopter at like 2 in the morning, and when daylight comes up, like it's for miles, you don't see nothing but flat land. So it's definitely a changer for sure. You're used to seeing buildings here and there and everywhere, and all of a sudden now you don't see nothing but flat land and scorpions and snakes and camel spiders for days. So yeah, it was definitely a change for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, that's a big difference from Maryland to the desert, I bet.
No, just a couple miles in between.
How hard was it for you to adapt to civilian life?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't easy. You know, you see carnage, you see stuff that, just a normal everyday person don't see, and you see that stuff for months on end, it takes a toll on you. Even as brainwashed as servers had to get us, it still takes a toll on you. You have to be mentally tough. I mean, I don't get me wrong with that, but at the same time, when you get back to civilian world, and they tell you to take a 30-day leave, and then come back, it was kind of, it wasn't kind of, it was really tough, for me. So I got hooked onto the drinking and the drugs so bad, man, like, cause I needed something to mask, I needed to hide behind it, I didn't want to face it. So, it got really bad, man, and here I am, I'm stealing from my mom, I'm stealing from my sisters. Oh, it got bad, dude, and then they were just like, you're out. We can't have you in our home anymore, And here I am, 26 years old, man, living under a bridge in Cumberland, Maryland for 4 months, you know. It's not the lifestyle that I planned on living, at 26, and it was just, I just did what I did, man, and February 15th, 1996, I was just like, you know what? I've had enough of this life. I need help. I called my mom, on a payphone. And I was just like, come and get me. And when she did, they took me straight to the hospital. I got to say, I don't recall what happened because I was told that for 4 days I was in the hospital with IVs in me and they were getting me back up to par. I was too dehydrated, so, beat up with drugs and all that stuff. My mom had set up with a lady from the VA hospital, Martinsburg, West Virginia. And they got me in there under the homeless program. And then I did 30 days of that. And then I ended up doing 10 months of drug rehab, and I got myself right, got my mind right, got my body right, and man, I haven't had anything since, like I said, February 15th, 1996, man. It's just been high on life ever since, Been pretty dope. Been pretty cool.
That's very great. That's very good to hear, man. And it's
Yeah, man.
it's something that none of us that unless we've gone through that can completely understand what you've
Yeah.
gone through and what it
Yeah.
took to get back to the new normal, what it is for you.
Yeah.
What is if you can tell somebody that doesn't understand that obviously has never lived that, what would you tell them to kind of help them understand the perspective that you had to go through?
Well, I mean, the first thing, you have to make that conscious decision that you don't want to live under a bridge, homeless, eating out of a freaking dumpster. And, people think that's a joke, I'm here to tell you, man, I lived it. It is not a joke, Once drugs get a hold of you, you can't, but you got to have that conscious effort to finally get sick and tired of being sick and tired. waking up every day, shaking like a leaf on a tree, finding where you're gonna get your money at for the next drug. And, once you make that conscious effort to say, you know what, I'm done, only thing you're going to do is just keep doing it over and over and over again, and I've talked into many rooms in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous over the years, and the thing is, it's always the truth. Making the first step, admitting that you got the problem, and then getting out there, getting in the rooms, get into a hospital, get your mind right, get your body right. And it does work, People, not only who I fish with now, who know my story, would never have ever looked at me and said, damn, Frank was homeless? Frank was a drug addict? Frank was, I was a scum. I was a piece of shit. I was, and people who know me now think that there was no way I was like that, but I got plenty of people that would come on the show and tell you, yes, I was, you got to make that conscious decision to get yourself right, like I said, and it comes full circle. You got to do the work. You just don't walk into a room and say, you know what, I got a problem, I'm good, now help me. There was a lot of nights, a lot of crying nights. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of getting inside and coming to terms with, things that happened over the years in my life. People I did wrong, and stuff of that. So I definitely came a full circle, man, and it's been a blessing. And it wasn't just me. There's this thing called a God, a higher power, that put me right, that made me go through the things that I did to get me where I am today, and I'm a firm believer of it, man. I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for that man upstairs. It's true story stuff.
That's very true. Amen to that. From the moment you decided, hey, I'm done, I'm tired of this, to the moment you actually got to where, like, okay, now I'm back to, the height of me as a person. How hard was that transition? Because the one thing is to make the decision, and then now it's like, okay, I've reached the end of the road with this. Now I want to change. I want to change my direction. You make that turn. How hard was it, that road, to get back once you took that decision?
That's, man, people just don't get it. Like they seriously, the 12 steps of getting clean and sober, the 12 steps, man, like that program is freaking amazing, and in each step of it, you have to come to grips with the terms, and you have to spill your guts. And it's a true story. You have to spill your guts in order to make that transition, to become a better person, to be a better person in society, to make yourself happy, joyous, and free. Not sitting there lying to yourself or lying to your counselors, or just to get yourself, somewhat better. If you really wanted this, which is I did, I had to dig deep, and it wasn't just surface shit. This was deep stuff, that I had to put myself through, to get better, to get right, and that's why I said, there's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights of crying, a lot of nights coming to grips, man, I'm going to tell you, it don't matter who you are, if you're 2 years old or if you're 50 years old. You know what? Sometimes you got to cry and you got to hurt, and you got to feel pain, and you got to feel shame, man, and I felt every one of them going through that 10 months because I wanted to get back to me, and it's still, within the first few years, man, it was still a struggle. There would still be stuff creeping up in the back of my head, hey, you can go out and smoke this joint, or hey, you can have a line here, or you can have a drink, and you'll be okay. Nah, you can't do that, man. If you really want this thing and you want it right, you got to stop it all, and I know that tape in my head of the eating out of the garbage cans, of the living under the bridge, to robbing your family to pay for, I haven't still to this day, 25 years of sobriety, I still haven't forgot that, and that's what keeps me in check. I don't have to live like that no more, I met a lot of great people over the years, and I got to tell you, getting in this kayak bass fishing, man,
it's a great community.
Like, my God, like, it's amazing the people that I've met, You know, it really is. It really is amazing, the people I met doing this.
And that's great to hear, because I know sometimes, like when we're on group pages dedicated to kayak fishing and stuff like that, you know, a lot of the negativity gets spilled over, and pettiness and smack talk
Sure.
and all that. But the reality of the situation is, if we focus on that, then yeah, all we're gonna find is negativity. But the kayak fishing community in itself, it's a very warm and inviting community, and you see so many people from both guys and girls that served in the armed forces that have found a niche in this community, because the nature of the sport is so calming, but at the same time it gives you those those competitive fluids going through your vein, that excitement, that adrenaline of hooking a bass or whatever it is. For some guys it's big bull reds on the marshlands. Other guys it may be deep sea kayak fishing, marlins, red snappers, whatever it is, whatever you fancy.
Sure.
The sport in itself, that, and hooking into big bass is just kind of like, or big fish in general, gives you that adrenaline. So it's that balance of, it's still exciting, but at the same time being on the water is so calm. It has a calming effect on everyone, especially when you've come from like yourself, you had to adapt to a life of high octane, and then a passive, normal picket fence kind of home, which is not an easy transition for you. So now that you're into kayak fishing, how much have you enjoyed it? What do you love about kayak fishing? What have you learned about kayak fishing, and how much do you want to keep getting involved in kayak fishing?
Yeah, man. So like, I gotta say, like, I think it was like 2017. Me and this girl I was dating at the time, we just like went to this park one day. I was just like, hey, let's go to the lake up here. We got a place called Lake Frederick back home in Stephen City, Virginia. And I was like, let's go up there, just spend the day, to walk around the lake. Got up there, Armando, and they had flat bottom John boats. They were 10 foot long, and they had trolling motors on the front. I was like, hey, let's go out on one of these, get out in the water. We went out on that thing. And I ran into a guy who I now know what the kayak is, because I didn't know at the time. It was a Vibe Sea Ghost, smoke camo. And he had about 40 rod holders, like all over. Like, he had all these PVC connections together and fishing rods everywhere. And I ain't gonna lie, that was the dopest looking thing I'd ever seen. And I was just like, talking to him about it, man, and it was just like, I want one of them. There's that addiction. There's that, like, I want to do that right there, and it was, you're out on the water. It's peaceful. It's calm. It's serene. You see stuff out there that we don't see when we're walking into an office. I've seen several bald eagles now flying in, getting a fish out of the water, and I'm thinking, damn, I could have caught that fish. It was a nice... and seeing deer cross, the lakes and stuff, that we don't see normally, and this kayak bass fishing stuff has turned me on to that kind of stuff that I enjoy now, and it's like, I can't wait to get to the water. I can't wait to get to that next tournament. I can't wait to meet this person who I've met on Facebook hundreds of times, but I've never actually physically gave them daps or gave them a hug or something of that nature, Kayak bass fishing is allowing us to do that. Like, it is amazing to be out there with these people. It is, man. Because we do, like, we see people and we've met people online. We know their name. We know that profile picture. We know how they give each other jabs and all that. But when you meet somebody, it is just like, it is so cool. It really is. It really is cool stuff.
Yeah, and when you combine the sport in itself with now the community, it takes it even to a higher level. It kind of fulfills you in different levels in your life. It gives you that camaraderie. It gives you that outlet where you're out of your element. Being out of the office, you get your adrenaline pumping, like we talked about, catching a fish. So it's just different layers that kind of fulfill that part of our lives that we need, you know. And it's so interesting because I see people that I've talked to, friends of mine that have known me before, and I got into kayak fishing. They're like, "Why do you drive? Why do you get up at 4 in the morning to go? Like, are you crazy? What are you doing all day? Did you catch anything?" It's like, it's not just about catching a fish. It's just the experience, being out in the water, like you said, seeing wildlife. Just driving today to the lake, I went to Whitney Lake and kind of took some dirt back roads to get to this cove, and there's deer everywhere, you know, like 20 deer just crossing this dirt road while you're driving. You get on the water and you see, like you said, wildlife, eagle, different things that just kind of like, I'm sitting at an office or, you know, sitting on my couch eating potato chips. I'm not gonna see all this. I'm not gonna be able to enjoy all this. It's so it's that sense of adventure, that sense of just being out there in nature, that is like, what better way? What other reason do I want to get up early in the morning and do something like this? If I do it to go to work and earn a paycheck, not because I love work, because I have to, then why wouldn't I do it to do something that I love?
Yeah. And that's one thing, you know, when I seen that guy out there fishing that day, you know, I was just like, I want to do that. You know, so I did, you know, me and my girlfriend, we went back to the house. I like got online and I went fishing kayaks. And she was just like, well, I'll go with you and fish. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I ordered like a Vibe T12 as a tandem kayak. You know, and I had this fishing kayak, and like I didn't know what to do with it, you know. And I had bought I think it was a Plano tackle box, you know, and I went to Walmart and got me a rod and reel combo set. I don't even know what the hell it was, and you know, but just to get stuff, you know. And then like a month later, we we dumped each other, and here I'm stuck with this like big kayak by myself, you know, and trying to paddle it, you know. And it was just like, you know, I want what that guy had, and you know, I had seen that he had that Vibe Seago because I read it on the site, so I ordered one of them. So now I got this Vibe Seago smoked camo, and I was just like, okay, Facebook is the greatest place in the world. So I typed in kayak fishing clubs, and it was just like
that, but
yeah, I know, you know. So I was like,
have you been to the KBN group page?
Good people over there, Ryan. Good people.
They are. They are.
People, you know,
they are.
I've had the opportunity to hang out with those guys, so they're pretty great people. For real, they really are. Don't let that facade up on the damn KBN page. They're different behind. Good guys.
No, they are. I've had them both on my podcast. Yes, they are great people. They're great people. Yeah, and I'm just joking.
Yeah, definitely, man. You know, so sure enough, man. Like I found like NVKBA, Northern Virginia kayak bass anglers, man. Like back home, and I got in that group, and I was just like, man, well, you know, I'm from Maryland. You know, there's got to be a Maryland one. So I typed in, you know, Maryland kayaking. Next thing you know, here comes the Maryland kayak bass anglers, and I'm just like, oh my God. So now I'm in both of their clubs, you know, and I'm like traveling to Virginia fishing tournaments, traveling to Maryland fishing tournaments, and then they got me introduced to this thing, and they were like, hey, have you ever heard of KBF? And I was like, I guess kayak bass fishing, and I was just like, okay. And they're like, oh yeah, they got tournaments. You travel all over, and you got a chance to win prize money. And you know, okay, let's do it once. You know, it's a new thing. You know, like I said, it was addictive. So I tried it. You know, my very first fishing tournament out of state was Sharon Harris in North Carolina. Went down there, and I did absolutely horrible. I caught 0 fish. But the scenery was wonderful down there. You know, I'd never been to North Carolina. So, I mean, you know, it just took off after that, you know. I had seen another kayak down there that I thought was pretty dope. A guy had a wilderness radar. It had a pedal on it. And I was just like, man, I've been paddling this Vibe Seago, and it's kicking my ass. And I was like, you can pedal a kayak? I did not know this. So sure enough, I ordered one of them. Now next thing you know, I'm in a wilderness, you know, and we ended up out in Kentucky fishing a KBF tournament out there on Cedar Creek Lake. And one of my buddies had a Hobie. He had a PA-12, and I was just like, that's pretty cool looking. He's like, you got to sit in this thing. So sure enough, I sat inside that kayak, and it was the second day of the tournament, and I wasn't doing well at that tournament either. So it was just like, I want that kayak. I called Delaware Paddle Sports while I'm sitting in his kayak in the middle of a tournament and said, I'm in Kentucky right now. I said, I'd like to buy this kayak. I said, I'll be up next week. And now I'm in a Hobie. And it was just like, that thing, parts of where I live, on the Shenandoah River back in Virginia, it's little skinny water places. And you got the kick fins underneath and the mast is starting to bend up. And I'm just like, man, this is killing me. And it's a tank to paddle. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, there's got to be a different kayak out there. Just sure enough, Bonafide had came out. And I was just like, man, I want to get a Bonafide. That's a skinny water kayak. Sure enough, I sold the Hobie, went into a Bonafide. And I was just like, well, that's pretty cool, and I put a motor on the front of it. I seen some guy had a motor, Gene Jensen. You guys may have heard of him.
Fluke Master, yeah. I think I've heard of him.
I know, yeah, I know exactly. So, they had motors. I was just like, man, so I put a motor on the front of mine. And I was like, okay, so now I got my lake one. I was like, but I still want a skinny water one. So then I got a new canoe for Flint. So I'm like, I'm good, And then I was just like, well, these are cool, but, man, I really love that Hobie. So I sold them, and I got back into the Hobie 360, which is I'm in now, It's just like this is a rabbit hole, man. Like I was telling you, before this kayak bass fishing is a hell of a rabbit hole, man. Once you start down that hole, you're gone. You're gone. Yeah. So I went, from the like I think it was like $15, Kmart, Walmart fishing rod to now, I'm dropping, $250, $300 on reels and rods, and I'm sitting there going,
how did I get here?
Yeah, like in the fishing in the 70s when I was doing it as a kid, you went to Kmart because there's no such thing as Walmart, man. You got to Kmart and you got this damn reel already ready, and I don't even know if it was monofil, I don't know if it was fluorocarbon, I don't know what it was, but I was catching fish with that. Now here we are, 2021, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I got to have 65-pound braid on this one. I got to have 30-pound braid on this one. I got to have 8-pounder braid on this one. I'm going, we didn't worry about that shit back in the 70s. We just do something out there and hope that it didn't break your line, and then you got to have a certain lure for this. You got to have a certain bait for this. I'm like, yeah. Once I said, you get down this rabbit hole, it's forever. But it's a great thing, like I said. Yeah, I've met amazing folks who, if I'd have never been into this, I would have never have, met. It circles back to, meeting some of the people in KBN. Me and Ryan fished this past year. We were out in Arkansas. Me, Ryan, Shane Williams, David Kittrell. We shared a house in Arkansas. And we were fishing out there. Let me see, who else have I? Well, my buddy's back from Virginia, when we took off, we went to Sharon Harris, and then we went to Kentucky Lake. The guys I've met here in Alabama, we ended up down in Seminole, in a place, It's like traveling around, seeing, meeting these people, and it's been amazing. It really has been.
It really is. Like I said, like we mentioned, it's if we focus on the negative, we'll find only negative stuff, but there's a lot more positive aspects about the kayak fishing community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
99% of the experience you have in kayak fishing is positive. If we just, for whatever reason, it's human tendency, no matter what we do, that we focus on that one negative thing. And that ruins our day. That ruins our experience. That's just just the way we are as humans. That's the way we're wired. But when you look at it, you're like, no, I had a great time. I did. Maybe there was one engagement on the water where it wasn't that pleasant. But how many friends did you make at that house, at that meetup, at that tournament? So why don't we focus on that instead of focusing on one maybe not so pleasant interaction?
Yeah,
but again, we're humans. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah, and I failed to mention, some of my buddies back home in in my Maryland Kayak Club, living down here, we had a tournament this last year on I think it was Henry Neely, the Gadsden Hobie BOF, and some of my buddies who I hadn't had a chance to see when I moved here, Jake Harshman and Aaron White, they came down from Pennsylvania and Delaware, and we all stayed in the same house together. We all fished together. Everybody had a great time. That's where I got to meet Jim Orr and Jackson Orr.
Great people.
That's where I met Dylan Lowry was up there. Jordan Marshall was up there. Like I said, Jake Harshman, Aaron was there. Dave Cottrell was there. I think we had like 10 deep in there, Jesse Havelson, So here's guys who from back home's club came down here. People who I'm fishing with out of this club, we all met here. People I've never met over here, and now we're all living in the same house together for like 3 or 4 or 5 days. And you got to meet people who, once again, like I said, if I'd have never got into this sport, I'd have never, ever met these people. And I'm going to tell you, absolutely 100% amazing folks. Yes, we're all human. Yes, we have our good days. Yes, we have our bad days. But, man, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And they're great folks. They really are. Really are.
It really is. And now that I lost count. I wanted to go back to this. How many kayaks now have you owned in the span of how many years?
I think I'm at like 8 now in 3 years, 4 years.
8 kayaks in 3 years. Good Lord. And my wife thought I had a problem. God,
yeah.
8 kayaks in 3 years.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm telling you, like it's the rabbit hole. I'm telling you,
I know.
I get it, People can spend what they can spend.
Yeah.
And I don't sit there and say, okay, well, this guy fishing out of a sit-in Sun Dolphin with that Kmart rod can fish just as well as this guy sitting in a 360 and a $700 setup. You know what? I haven't met a fish yet that come up to my lure or line and kayak and said, you know what? You're not really that good of a kayak, so I'm going to go over to this one. You know what I mean? It don't matter. It don't. Some people can afford to hire in stuff and some people can't. But the bottom line is you're on the water, you're in that little plastic boat, and you're catching fish and you're having fun. And if you're not, make sure you get them good pictures of that sunset or that sun coming up, because you got to have something to throw up on the internet, man. You got to have something to throw up there. That's
true.
why I said, it don't. It really don't to me, I don't care if you have a $2 rod or if you got an $800 rod. As long as you're catching fish and having fun on the water, who gives a shit? Really, who cares?
That's very true.
But we like poking fun at each other. We do.
Yeah. It's one of those things when you're on the water, it doesn't matter. All it matters is your talent, for catching fish and having a good time. I always say I have a Hobie 360. And I enjoy it. I can afford it, but I'm not gonna make think of myself as a superior angler just because somebody out there, that guy in a Crescent. I hate to say brand. I'm thinking of Drew Gregory, and I'm not saying Crescent because I think Crescent is a cheap brand or anything like that. I'm thinking because Crescent is such a simple, like Drew Gregory fishes out of Crescent, and it's just bare to the bone kind of thing, When he fishes a Hobie and all that, he doesn't have a motor, he doesn't have pedal, he has paddles. So, no offense, I'm not saying that the Hobie's better than Crescent. I'm just putting. You see what I got myself into now? I have to explain myself.
Well, you'll have to.
My point.
Everybody's you shut up just now anyway, so it don't matter,
It is. My point was that it doesn't matter what you fish out of, as long as you're out there on the water and you're having fun, and you're getting what you can afford. There's no. People ask me, is it worth the Hobie 360? It's worth it if you can afford it. If you cannot afford it, it doesn't matter how good of a kayak fishing machine it is. If you can't afford it, it is not worth it, because you don't want to get into that. Because at the end of the day, it's just a sport or a pastime. It's not.
Yeah, that's all it is.
You don't need this to live. You kind of need it to survive and be a better person when you're not in the water. But really, it's not. You don't need to have a Hobie 360. You don't need to have spot locked. You don't need to have
Nope.
a live scope. All you need to do
Yeah.
is have a life jacket, a couple of rods, and whatever kayak you can afford. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's what it's about right there. Whatever can get you on the water with the income that you have and can afford. I haven't to this day, and I know I won't because, I've been brought up a lot different. I'm not going to go by somebody and go, well, he's at a sun dolphin. Well, I'll never fish with that guy. No, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I just can't do that, Kind of take a look at yourself in the mirror when you do that. Say, wow,
Yeah.
you know, that's not the right thing to do. You should be out there helping out people, and doing whatever you can to help them out.
Christine Fisher just posted on, and I actually reposted it on my Facebook account. Shameless plug. You can follow me in Bass Kayak and Beers Facebook and Instagram. But I reposted something that she posted on Instagram and Facebook, which is she talked to somebody. The gist of it, she talked to somebody on the water at the Susquehanna River at that Hobie BOS tournament. The person she was talking to saying, "Hey, I'm throwing a buzz bait because I saw your video last year. I bet you regret posting it." And she's like, "Absolutely not. The fact that you're throwing the buzz bait that I posted on my video because you saw my video is a win, more important,"
Yeah.
or something along the
Yeah.
lines that it's a
Yeah,
win,
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that of all the posts that I've posted, I think that's the one that has more likes, and
Yeah.
and it is true, that's the mentality we have to approach to with it, and I get it. Sometimes when you're in a tournament, you don't want to give out the secrets and all that, but at the
Sure.
same time, it's great when you share experiences. If you don't want to give out the waypoints, you want to give your techniques, that's fine. You can still show appreciation and support to other people by helping them with the basics of kayak fishing and not
Yeah. Yeah,
shaming
yeah.
them or making fun of them.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. And I've had it done for me, and I've helped people. I've had people tell me, hey, you getting anything? No, I'm not getting anything. Here, try this, and it worked. And then in the same token, I'm catching stuff, and I reach out to a friend. Hey, are you getting them? No. Well, here's what I'm using. It's all about that. Let's not get it twisted, though. I mean, we're not sitting here spending $250, for bass tournament, and we're not spending $260 for a Hobie just to say, you know what, I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm going to give my money away. No, you're still going to be competitive. We all have that competitive nature in us, or we wouldn't be doing this. So, I mean, yeah, you are going to keep the juice in your pocket for a while. But at the same time, you want to see other people succeed too. Now, if you're 5 miles up the river from me or the lake, of course I'm going to sit there and tell you exactly what I'm throwing. I mean, it's not like you're right here fishing with me anyway. But there has been at times, it's happened to me, and I've done it too, 2 foot, 10 foot, and they're like, "Man, what are you catching more?" And I'd be like, yeah, that, I mean, because once again, I didn't come here just to give my $250, $260 away to anybody. Now, our little grassroots $35, $40 tournament, in your local, I don't give a hoot. Here's exactly what I'm throwing. Have fun with it. It's not, for me, I love my job, and I work for the federal government in IT. I love my job. It pays me well. The money that kayak bass fishing is not life-changing, money-altering life to where I'm going to sit there and go, for me, this is for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and hand in my 2 weeks notice to the federal government and say, I'm now going to go to bass fishing because I can make a couple dollars here. It's just not there. I love my job. I am passionate about my job, as I'm as passionate in for the fishing. But once again, it's not like I just won the lotto of 40 million or I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
For me, I just enjoy being out there with people, enjoy fishing, having a great time. If I win, great. If I lose, great. I don't care because I have a great job. So it's not like I need to win tournaments in order to my life to keep going. For me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, going back to something you said, that if you're in a tournament like a Hobie BOS, KBF, a Bass Nation Kayak Series, and you go up to somebody and ask them what you're catching them on, don't expect anything other than a middle finger, because that is a disrespectful question.
Yeah.
Like let's put in perspective. Yes, we are about growing the community. We are about helping each other out. But once tournament starts, lines in, you don't go up to somebody and say, "Hey, what you catching on?" Come on, man. That's
it's a wrap.
That's bush league. You don't. And if you get that middle finger, don't go on social media and rant about it, because you totally deserve it. All right, you just don't do that.
And we've all been around. We've all been around this thing long enough now.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
We know that. You know what I mean? You just don't. And people still do that.
Yeah.
It happens. Once again, I'm fine with it if it's a brand new. And come on, we all know our local clubs. We all know our local trails. If you got a new angler coming into the game, I'm totally fine with helping them, because they probably more likely don't know. But just like you said, if you're in a tournament, I'll be damned if I'm on Pickwick, I'm going to go up to somebody and say, "Hey, what did you catch that on?" I'm just not going to do that, because you don't do that.
Unless it's your friend, that's a different matter. Yeah. That's special, but somebody that you don't know, hey.
I was kidding. No, you know what, though? We do it. You know what? And it's great to share information like that. That's why I said, it's not, for me, that's why I said it's not life-changing money that I'm winning here, So it's just like, but there is, I don't even know if it's like the thin line between black and white is even gray with that kind of stuff. Like that line is just so thin, but you don't. You shouldn't be asking, but you know what? Somebody ought to be smart enough to know, if you're asking, somebody's going to probably lie to you.
Yeah.
Or not really like lie to you, but like lead you. Yeah, you're using a whopper plopper with a Cinco on the back of it. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I get it.
But yeah, no, like I said, it's one of those things where you want to enjoy the sport, you want to grow it, but there's a fine line between, growing the sport and competing in the sport. You want to have that balance. And for those that are new to the sport, you go to your local trails. And I started when I started kayak fishing and I started going into tournaments. My main thing about it is like, I'm not gonna win any money. I'm at this point, I'm just donating money to the winner. But I was like, that is a good way to talk to people and learn after the tournament is done and we're all lines out at the boat ramp talking. Then I'll ask, "Hey man, I'm new at this. I struggle with this. What did work for you? What did you saw?" And you'll get answers at that point. But but for the tournament or mid tournament, it's not the time to ask those stuff.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? And then here you go. I can't tell you how many tournaments. I've been at the house. When we get Airbnbs, I don't like taking time off from work. So I actually, and I telework, so I actually will go to a tournament. Like we'll show up at a house on Wednesday or Thursday. Well, I'm working while everybody's out pre-fishing. I'm sitting on my laptop working, but at the same time, I got my other laptop where I'm looking at topo maps or I'm looking at YouTube videos where people have fished these areas before. So, I'm not technically pre-fishing it, but I am because I'm doing map study on it. I got to say this, I never would have thought that I would be that guy. Once again, I don't care if I win or lose, but the competitiveness in me, I would not think that I would be sitting there with a laptop looking at these maps and all that, doing map study. I just didn't see myself doing it when I first got into this. That's what I said, and that's all part of that rabbit hole stuff. You're not just doing this to give your money away because you really want to try. You want to succeed at this. You want to, as you said, I don't want to go in there just going, I'm just giving my money away, just to catch a zero. We all try our best, while we're out there, and we can't say it wasn't a lack of me not trying because I'm sitting here looking at maps, I'm looking at videos, I'm trying these things, and sometimes it worked, and damn it, sometimes it don't. It really, it happens like that. It happens. But I will say, the people that got that damn live scope and active and live target, man, fishing in a barrel to me.
Yeah.
To me.
I haven't tried it. I'm actually doing I'm gonna meet up with somebody that is actually making. I'm making a custom order trailer for my kayak, and the guy who's welding it actually is a fishing guide. So he's gonna be taking me crappie fishing with him once the trailer is done. And he has that live scope. So I'm interested to see. I'm going to finally see how live scope works. Now, granted, I am more of the, not that I'm that good. I'm not comparing myself. But my method of fishing is more like what Drew Gregory does, which is just like back skinny waters, vegetation, where live scope is really like, it's not really going to make a difference in the way I fish. Now,
Sure.
as I grow to the sport, there may come the time where I'm like today, for example, I went to Whitney Lake where there's no grass and the water temperature is close to 90 degrees. It's 100 degrees outside. Water clarity is like 5 feet. Well, guess what? I couldn't even find them on skinny water because they're not there because it's too hot. So at this point, it's like, and I was thinking today, it's like a live scope now would probably make my difference in my day because there's no way I'm going to find them on shallow creek waters at this temperature at this time of the day. Now I did early in the day, but once the sun gets high, it's like, you're definitely going to need something like that. Now there are people out there that don't need it and still able to find 5 fish. I'm not at that skill level yet. Hopefully one day I will.
Neither am I.
For me, a live scope at that style of fishing in those conditions, that'll probably make a difference. But then again, I haven't seen it. I don't know how great it is. My thing with it is like, I'm going to buy it because it's on special. And then a week later, that brand new live scope thing came out. And I'm going to be like, damn, that I would do it. And now I just bought this. And now I want the new features. Because, I'm not going to stop at it. I'm not going to stop at, there's going to be another breakthrough in technology applied to fishing, then now it's going to be another $2,000 or $3,000. And now I'm going to, I just spent $3,000 on this 6 months later, breakthrough technology. Guess what? I'm doing that now. So
and I know a couple people that have it, that have the live scope in the active target or the live target. I know people that have it. That's why I said, to me, yes, I could go get it if I wanted it.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think that it's really going to help me. I don't. You know what I mean? Because I pretty much use I got the Lowrance Elite FS 9.
Nice.
The newest one that just came out, but I have to spend another $1,200 just for the live target transducer. Well, I don't really want to do that because I only really use it. My fish finder for is basically for water temperature.
Yeah.
And like,
same here.
and like, depth wise. I know when I'm skinny water, I don't take it. You know what I mean? But like, I want to know if am I going to be fishing at 10 foot? Am I going to be at 12 foot? Am I going to be at 15 foot? And water temperature, like I said, they're the only two. Yeah, I got the side imaging and the down scan and all that. That's cool. But for me, I can't figure it out yet. I've tried, I've watched videos. I'm just not that electronic guy, and I'm okay with that. But as long as I can tell water temperature and depth, I pretty much know up here what I should be throwing and what I need to be throwing. So, and it's, to me, this is me again personally. I don't know if Panoptics and all that, like I said, fishing in a barrel, just because you put it there don't mean that they're going to bite either.
Yeah. Rolando Nandin, I had Rolando Nandin on my podcast. He's a great angler here from Texas. And he was talking about, he won a tournament this year, tournament that I was, the TKC, I think it was, in Belton Lake. He caught him offshore. So my approach to that lake was the whole, let's go to Google Earth, waypoint it, and transfer that information to my fish finder. And it worked out great. Now I didn't, because of more like rookie mistakes, I didn't land my 5 fish, but I found my 5 bites. Then I don't think it would have won the tournament, but if I think I would have ended, I think I was looking at it, I would have ended probably either tied or below Matthew Scotch, who was on that tournament as well. Because I had some nice bites. I just rookie mistakes. But going back to my point with Rolando Landini, when I was talking to him on the podcast, he was saying yes, to him the Live Skull won the tournament for him. Not to take away from he's an accomplished angler before that. But he told me, but when he got it, it was like 2 years ago, there was no YouTube, there was no Fish in the Moment YouTube channel to kind of break it down like the guy does now. So he had to learn it by himself. He says it took him 2 years to kind of like hone in the skill of applying what he's seen to his fishing for it to, transfer into success. Because back there was no YouTube. It was just read the manual and figure it out,
Yeah.
Okay, what am I looking at? Is that a crap? Is that a bass? How is it reacting to my bait? And now he on the conversation, he came out like, well, you probably, kids now, or guys now, girls too, if you get one now, it'll probably, learning curve probably less because of YouTube now has a bunch of videos, like I said, Fish in the Moment. It breaks it down amazingly. So it'll probably be less, but just because you got that doesn't mean the next day you're gonna put up a 5 fish limit and gonna win the Hobie BOS.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. As I said, for me, I'm getting it figured out, but I'm really not. I don't sit here and take the time to learn all of it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I guess my ADD just don't allow me. It's just like, okay, put it on there. Yep, that's a good looking screen. Yep, okay, those arcs are supposed to be fished. Okay, that's great. I don't sit there and go into the depth of it, That's just for me. Yeah. If I can see, like I said, if I can just see my water temperature and I can see my depth, I pretty much, and we all do by now, know what we're going to throw in this situation, what we would throw in this situation, in hopes that, we get that bite. I don't, like I said, that's just for me. I'm not just relying on that. To get me my fish. Just because they're there, and once again, as you said, it don't mean they're going to bite.
Yeah, it's part of a puzzle, but it's not the full picture. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Now, I've been on side scans where I see, okay, there's structure, and I throw a drop shot, and let's see, I'm on open water, and I find structure. I'll put a drop shot crawl. 20 feet, boom, and I start getting, bites one after another. Then you see like, okay, yes, now the fish finder worked, but it was more like piecing the puzzle. Okay, now what am I looking for? I'm looking for structure. Found the structure. Is there fish there? Yeah. I see spots. There are fish there. Is there bass? Hopefully, should be. Throw the drop shot, get it, or throw whatever you're gonna throw. That's deep diving, crankbaits, heavy bladed jigs, whatever. It's just part of a puzzle. And like you said, we all hope. The key word is hope. We get a bite.
Yeah, they might not be hitting that. That 5 to 8 foot. Crankbait. You'd be crazy. Like all of a sudden in the summertime, you throw a spoon down there. You're like, why the hell am I ripping a spoon in the middle of summer or a blade? That's generally wintertime stuff for me back home. Yeah. Here I am in 90-degree water, and I'm just sitting there ripping this thing up like this, and I'm going, man, you got to hope that they get a bite, You just got to hope that they bite, So it's just, I just watched the MLF this weekend, or this week, with Jacob Wheeler winning. As great as a angler he is, when he goes an hour and 45 minutes without even getting a bite. And he's got, we've all seen his boat. He's got 3, 15-inch screens up front. And now when he goes and, for an hour and 50 minutes without getting a bite, I'm going to tell you, when I go 2 hours without a bite, I love it. Because I'm just like, I don't have none of the stuff he has. Yeah. And, I can't get a bite. And he's got everything in the world, and he can't get a bite. It's just I'm successful right there. It's just it just happens. It happens. But the studio, the heck of it is, though, as soon as that tournament's over, we're right back at our calendar looking at when our next tournament is.
Yeah.
We really are. I know for me, it's like, when's that next tournament? Because I love the excitement of it. of getting up at 3 a.m. and driving there, the passion that other anglers that I have doing this, it's great being around people like that who want to do this, that's to me what it's about, it's the people that make it, it is. Yeah, it's great to catch that, 18, 19, 21, 22-inch fish. But if you take the fish out of it, it's the people what make it.
Yeah,
it really is. It's the people.
That's the big win. That connections, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't put a price tag on that. Yeah. On that connection you have with people. Yep, you know what? I want $180 today. At my local tournament. But the greatest thing I had is when so and so was out there and damn near flipped his kayak trying to get that fish, or so and so was sitting there throwing hissy fit because he had one on and he missed it. That stuff right there, you can't put a price tag on that, and that's, for me, that's what I love about it. Because I love joking and I love carrying on. I love clowning with people while I'm out on the water. I love doing that kind of stuff. It is stressful because we make it stressful on ourselves. Oh, I know, I need that bite. I need that third fish, or I need that fifth fish. I need this. Man, I will sit there and start clowning on people, laughing and make jokes of them because, have fun, relax. We're just... That's just me, though. That's just me.
No, but it's true. I guess it gets competitive, but at the same time, it's like I've never disappointed when I'm in a tournament, unless obviously I skunk, because then it's like, no, crap, But losing the tournament is like, I want to win. I'm there to win it, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It wasn't my best tournament, but hey, let me meet up some people. Let me pick their brains on what they work for them, and once. The tournament is done, I can share some information, get some information, and make human connections. Get to make great people. Because it's hard to find somebody that's mad when they're fishing, Yeah, when you're not catching, you can get mad. But still, once you're in the water, you're happy, man. No, it doesn't matter. For most of us, are just happy to be on the water and enjoying the adventure and the competitiveness of it.
Yeah, I will say this, when I moved down here and I got in with the two clubs that I'm with down here, Coleman Kayak Anglers and Iron City Kayak Anglers here in Alabama, these people have been open-armed when I came down here. I obviously knew nobody. I got into their clubs, and I got to fishing with them. It all circles back to that kayak community. It's so tight-knit. These people knew this person, and I knew this person, and I knew this person, and then, I stayed in the house with that person. Well, I fished with that person here. And next thing you know, everybody starts opening up, and it's the craziest thing, man. Like, people are welcoming, from Virginia to Maryland to Alabama. People I've met from Texas, from Louisiana to Florida to Pennsylvania to New York. Like, these people that I've all met have just been open-armed, grateful to help out. And I'm telling you, man, like, you can't – where do you put a price tag on that, Yeah. Where do you put a price tag on that, and we all witnessed it, with Save JT. TJ.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
That was such amazing. That is such amazing.
Come on.
I can't. Big shout out to Ryan Lambert and everybody at KBA. Jeff Mallett too, of course.
Yeah.
But everybody that participated. Catherine Fields, who donated in auction.
I met Catherine several times. Yeah.
Great human being.
Yeah.
How can you not meet Catherine, not fall in love with her? She's such a great person.
Yeah.
Such a great human being.
Yeah.
Come
on. Look, Joe Mack steps up.
Yeah.
Here, take my money. Come on, man. Come on.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it, man. It really does.
Right there they are. Look at that. Right there they are. Yes, we have our differences. Yes, we're going to poke fun. Yes, somebody might take a little bit too far. Yes, you might get a ban here. But, at the end of the day, everybody's right there for everybody.
Yeah.
They really are. Whether some people want to tend to believe that or whether people don't want to believe that, you know what? You can call anybody from any state that you're at, and I'll guarantee you somebody will be there to help you in just a second.
Yeah.
They
So,
will.
For people that, and I get it, some people just, KBN group is not your taste. I get it. I understand. It can get heavy sometimes. For those people that are like, oh, I hate the KBN group. Look what those people did. That same group of people from the AKA Safe Pool, and I say that chicken tongue, just a joke. Look what they all got together and accomplished to.
Yeah.
And I've said this many times. I said it on my last podcast where I had Ryan Lambert, not just saving JT, but potentially saving the life of whoever comes after JT that may be suffering from this disease.
Yeah.
So look what
it's bigger than us.
More than $80,000 raised. So
ain't that something? I mean,
it's
kayak fishing is bigger than us, man.
It is.
It is. We're just a bunch of human beings floating around on a piece of plastic, catching fish, but at the same time we're helping somebody else who we don't know. I didn't know that child at all, but you know what? I had no problem giving my $50 up to him. Because for that cause, it's for the greater good of life. I mean, come on, man. We're going to spend $50 on, unless it's all some stupid shit anyway. Why not put it toward a cause that's going to help a child live, or another child live, or another child, just some people just looked at it different, I don't know. I'm just a different person, man, What the hell's $50,
Yeah. We all need to be different if that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Be more like you.
Yeah.
What I meant to say, be more like you. Twiggy, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to have you.
I appreciate it.
On my podcast. I hope you come back soon, man.
Yeah, I will. I promise, man. Thank you guys so much for having me, man. I appreciate Dan reaching out to you, man. Hopefully some people will learn stuff about me that they didn't, and I'm sure I'll probably get unfriended now after today. So
if they unfriend you, you don't need them in your life, my friend.
That's right.
If they don't,
hey,
more people need to be your friend, man. More people need to be your friend. And if they are, they're a better person for it. So.
Amen. Thank you so much for your podcast, man. I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Before I leave you, Frank, any final thoughts you want to share? Anybody you want to thank? Sponsors, family members, anything, anybody, anywhere.
I mean, first and foremost, let's thank God, for allowing us to be here today, and giving us the opportunity to do what we do, whether it be our job, whether it be out here fishing and having a good time. I can say this for me personally, and this once again for me, I'm glad I don't have sponsors because I like doing things the way I want to do it, use the baits that I want to use, lure that I want to use, stuff that I want. You know what I mean? That's just for me. But I mean, I thank everybody, in the kayak community from day one, who's took me under their wing with NVKBA and all the way down here to my two clubs here in Alabama and everybody in between, for helping a new guy out like me and showing me the ropes and giving me a bunch of shit, but also having a great time doing it. So yeah, I thank everybody, man, for real. I truly do. And people who know me know that I truly speak from the heart, when I say that. I appreciate everybody I've met so far.
We're fortunate to have you in the kayak fishing community, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
And thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
Let's not forget that.
Amen.
So, Frank, I've had you for over an hour, so I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate it. I hope we can keep in contact, man. And love to see you get a big W on some of the tournaments and have you back on the show and talk about that. And if not, we'll find an excuse to have you.
Excellent.
My pleasure, man.
Hey, take care, brother. Take care, buddy.
Thanks for those out there listening. Thank you so much. Remember, if you're going to be out in the water, please wear your PFDs. Stay safe. Big thank you to Douglas Rod, our sponsor for this podcast. Go to douglasoutdoors.com. Check out their full lineup of LRS rods and X makers. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.